Mark Zuckerberg's $100 million failure. Facebook's founder donated a fortune to help turn around Newark, New Jersey's failing schools, but the plan was a flop.
The attempted reform at Newark Public Schools is the focus of Dale Russakoff's new book, The Prize: Who's in Charge of America's Schools? And she joins us right now. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So listen, Dale, for people who may be unfamiliar with Newark and what the area is like, give us a snapshot. What was the school district like?
The school district was in terrible shape. It was about 40% of kids in kindergarten through 8th grade were reading at grade level, and just over 50% were graduating high school. And of those who did graduate, 90% needed remedial classes just to go to the community college and take college level classes.
All right, so here we have $100 million. Where did the money go?
Well, about $60 million went to expand charter schools, and another $89 million was put aside for teachers and principals contracts to create a whole new system of accountability for teachers and principals, although the principals contract was never negotiated. So that's about $30 million that's sitting unspent for future use. And then there was about $20 million that went to consultants to do what was called systems change, transforming the district from the top down, a new accountability system for everyone, a new data system, a new enrollment system. Systems change is what they called it. They thought that by creating a district that ran like a high-performing business, that would translate into improvements at the student performance level in the classroom.
So clearly the intentions were good, and that seems like a novel approach. Give us the basics. What was the plan supposed to do?
Well, it was supposed to change, I think, by putting all these children into charter schools. The hope was that they could close the failing schools and put in new school models, get a lot of those kids into charters, and turn the schools into much better performing schools by they thought they would get rid of the lowest performing teachers and have merit pay for the highest performing teachers and attract a whole new cadre of people into teaching, which they thought would elevate the performance of all the kids.
But here we're talking about $100 million. So is money the answer? You've got all this money, and look at Newark Public Schools still today.
Well, $100 million is not a lot of money when you talk about public schools. I think what people don't realize is how expensive public schools are to operate. The school district in Newark was spending $1 billion a year. So $100 million over 5 years was $20 million a year compared to $1 billion. So they were hoping to do a lot of systems reform at the main central office that would, they thought, have effects all throughout the system. But those changes really were not transformational as they hoped, and there wasn't money that was spent at the classroom level figuring out how to get more resources from the central office to the classroom to support the kids, because the children in Newark, one reason for the failure rates is that there's a really high poverty level in Newark. There's, I think, almost 90% of the kids get a free and reduced lunch. 40% of babies born in Newark haven't had prenatal care or have had inadequate prenatal care, so you're talking about disadvantage that begins before you draw your breath. And these kinds of issues needed a lot more support at the classroom level and a lot more support for the teachers who were trying to reach the kids, and that really wasn't part of the plan.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Aside from what appears to be, I guess it's debatable whether it's the mismanagement of money, because a lot of it didn't get to the classroom, how else did this plan fail?
Well, I think that the problem was that when you expand charter schools that quickly, you have a lot of breakage in the district schools because schools had to close, they had to consolidate. Thousands of children were reassigned to different schools. There were layoffs in the schools, and in fact, the performance level in the district schools has gone down, not up, in these 5 years. There's a couple of grade levels where reading scores are down 9 points in the last 4 to 5 years. So you have to look at the whole ecosystem. Children who went to the charter schools are in many cases much better off, and they do have more opportunity. So I don't think that those who planned this, the architects of this plan, see it as a failure. They see that as a great gain. But if you look at the whole picture, the children in the district schools have had some setbacks as a result of this.
So after years of researching this, what is the answer for those families that the only choice for their children is to go to public schools?
What is the answer? I think that the problem is that there isn't a fix, and I think that we're looking for an answer to this. And this is something, like people say, who are involved intimately in education, that when a school is failing, there aren't 4 or 5 things wrong, there are 50 things wrong. And I think it takes incredibly patient, hard work by the teachers and staff in these schools, and the focus has to be on fixing that. We talk about systems change at the top, but schools are made up of systems too, and that has to be the focus.
It's a very interesting story because I think it's the story of many school districts across the country, and this is just taking a micro look at a macro problem, you know?
Yes, and so many districts have had this vast expansion of charter schools, and the adjustment to how to sort of take the remaining district schools and fix them and stabilize them is something that's still trying to be figured out.
All right, Dale Russakoff, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.